Hello friends, today I am talking about on a title Factors Affecting Microclimatic Changes in View of Development. So some important microclimatic changes associated with cities I am talking about today. It is well observed throughout the world for decades that economic development leads to environmental degradation. So rapid growth in population is the root cause of all issues that many societies are facing nowadays. Such issues are more complicated in developing countries like India. It adds to poverty, unplanned urbanization, increased slums, and increase in polluting industries and several related factors that cause rapid degradation of environment. Our country is mainly facing issues of air, water, and waste generation. Densely populated cities of our country are facing issues related to environment more severely. The safeguard of the environment is one of the prerequisites of sustainability, and there is much need for promotion of sustainability in every walk of life. Sustainability is the way of development that fulfills the needs of present generation without compromising those of future generations. There are three independent as well as connected pillars of sustainable development: environmental, economic, and social aspects. Such a way of development indeed protects the resources and ecosystem services everywhere. But it is observed that goals of sustainability are still far away in many societies of the world. Many human societies of the world follow wrong practices which are responsible for further degradation of environment and cause lower quality of life. In general, microclimatic conditions are natural and for a longer time are influenced by specific set of parameters for smaller area or part of the ecosystem. Besides, these also occur as part of human interference in and due to increased anthropogenic activities. The microclimatic conditions for a locality are mainly related to weather parameters and may last for more or less duration in a season or years. It may develop in few square kilometers of an area inside the city or a larger city as a whole. It can be easily experienced that air temperatures of the heavily trafficked cities are slightly more as compared to the temperature nearby suburban areas or villages which are located a few kilometers away from the central parts of the city. It creates an unhealthy urban microclimate, increases the frequency of smog, which can lead to frequent health issues of the people if persists for a longer time in the ambient environment. In 1952, London smog was a case of severe air pollution that affected hundreds of citizens and can be considered as a good example of how the microclimatic conditions cause impact on human health. It is now the need in almost every major society of the world that planners and policymakers take care to maintain natural and fresh conditions in the city environment. There is much need to design green buildings which will reduce heat leakages as well as maintain all stable conditions, just like a very much balanced small natural ecosystem. Healthy, safe, pleasant and sustainable living cities are expected as part of environmental conservation. Massive tree cover, more natural parks, green belts, rooftop gardens and green walls are much necessary to create city environment completely natural and cool. The cities must also act as a sponge to absorb pollutants within carrying capacity. These should also act as recreational areas for the residents. In short, in our view, such areas must be natural in line with the balance of larger ecosystems without affecting surrounding conditions. The cities must provide a safe, clean and healthy environment to all of its residents and other living species in a completely natural environment. As per scientific view, a large city may have several microclimates or even a village area that may have few microclimates due to spatial conditions that exist under changed characteristics of soil, vegetation, water body, topography or artificial structures that are present over a larger portion of the land. Though there is not much difference in weather conditions of a microclimate, overall noticeable changes may be observed from one place to another at a shorter distance. The microclimate of an area should not be compared with the actual definition of the climate or climate change, about which the whole world is worried nowadays. Landscape changes. The conditions on every changing landscape are noteworthy and effect on microclimates. Hills, slopes, plateaus and downside areas also play an important role in defining microclimates. They all differ in the availability of sunlight, heating of the landmass, shadows, types of vegetation, pressure, moisture, riverine areas, and species of flora and fauna. Thus, each landscape may differ at micro levels to have a minor differences in biotic and abiotic components. The flow of winds during day and night time also causes a major difference in such areas of the landscapes. Soil and its component or its constituents. The constituents of the soil are the important parts that determine overall nutrient availability to the vegetation structure and other organisms. The soil profile, variable structure of the surface, and more or less exposed temperature conditions determine the availability of living species at micro level. In general, varied soil constituents may have a significant change in species composition just a few kilometers away from one place to another. These may have differed productivity levels, which may be termed as primary and secondary productivity, resulting in changed conditions of microenvironments in an ecosystem. Next point is about water bodies. Water bodies are not just the containers of water in service of other species, but these are life supporting systems. Larger water bodies help to maintain humidity in the ambient environment and may be highly productive based on the quality of water. This also decides the nearby niches and functional organisms therein, as well as the structure of the ecosystem from a water body to a longer distance. In general, it is clear that more cool and healthy conditions for organisms are available nearby water bodies and somewhat opposite away from it. These also decide the changed microclimates. Wind breeze also occurs due to interaction of water bodies and land parts due to temperature and pressure difference, ultimately leading to specific microclimates. Vegetation structure. Vegetation structure ultimately determines the microclimates. Truly, the overall long-term weather conditions, sunlight availability, rainfall, heavy rainfall and rain shadow areas may completely change the microclimates even just few kilometers away from one place to another. Even the species composition may differ, causing huge difference in morphology, behavior and density. Even the composition may differ from the plants which are growing just below in the shadows of larger species. More to say, soil temperature, sunlight, pressure, moisture and other nutrients are all responsible to determine the vegetation structure. Next point is about artificial structures. The building materials, location of the buildings, height, soil type, wall to window ratio, glass covers, ventilation, nearby gardening and many more features can determine the specific microclimate for a larger building or complex. All these also affect overall building's internal and outer microclimates. Even there is a difference in conditions of the room compared with first and 25th floor in the same building. The air movement and concentration of pollutants may also differ based on the above characteristics of the building. That's the end. Thank you very much for listening.